Okay, friends, welcome back to week 2 of the Racing Recap show. I don't know what to call it, really. Anyway, 3 laps of the Beach Island Loop. Wow. Flat, but with a sneaky section. I love it, of Bike Racing Without Mercy. Actually reconned the race a few days prior to the actual main event, and indeed said that this race was bound to be very emotional. It turns out we learned a lot about the gravel. It turns out we learned a lot about the steamroller power-up, and it turns out that quite a few of us weren't lucky enough to get it and were therefore caught in the back half of the field. Personally, in my race, I lucked out and I had 2 roller power-ups for the first 2 laps. But then on the final lap, I had an aero as I crossed the finish line for 1 lap to go. So I actually was stuck hitting that gravel climb without a steamroller. And for someone who's not as punchy as, someone who maybe didn't have a steamroller, I was found like wanting more power right there. I could not get over that climb fast enough, even though it's not really a climb, but the gravel and everyone else using a steamroller just like blew it up. So yeah, it was a tough one. Plus as well, there was that sprint straight after the gravel as well. So like once you got on those little cobbles, you were straight into a sprint. So like it was just strung out and split and So I wonder if Zwift is going to turn down the power of that power up now. Okay, let's move on to the recaps themselves. So, like I said last week, we have Team A1, the Racers Without Mercy. And they said, with the gravel slopes of Utopia looming on the horizon, the level of concern was at an all-time high for the warriors of Backpedal A1. After a battle whose ferocity and tactical ingenuity can only be rivaled by the siege of Troy, the Racers Without Mercy achieved a great result with every single rider finishing in the top 50, bagging another 6th place for the team. Special credits go to Niall, the Rocket Batty, who did an inspirational effort trying to bridge to the front pack, doing 8 watts per kilo for a minute, and Phil, Painface Lovett, who had a career best drafting performance while suffering like he had never experienced before. Moving on to the second team, the aminos. I don't know why I call them the aminos. The amino acids. They were in the next race, and race 2 for them was the race for the steamroller, so they say. It was a case of have and have nots. When the group split, the first time up the gravel climb, Daniel, Peter and Theo got over in the first group, whereas David and Michael got caught in the group behind. A few of them got an aero, so kind of a bittersweet moment. But a strong performance by the amino acids, climbing up 1 place in the general classification to 6th and 6th overall on the night. New York awaits in race 3. Team A3, the third and final team that we have in the A division. Here goes their race recap. Unfortunately, Ben had a mechanical, but said, I watched on as my teammate took a strong 5th place finish out of 15 riders who had managed to navigate the winding dirt of death. He didn't have an aero, dropping his van in the tunnel so he could compose himself for the sprint to come. Behind was a trail of bodies, all steamrolled flat, but our Southern ambassadors did well, with 1 man down, that's Ben, accumulating enough points to move up to 3rd in the leaders table. The race is on, as the strongest teams seem to place 6th at the moment. Special mention, we had a strategy of sacrificing 1 rider for the first sprint. He's still a B, but got 3rd over the line and 6th best segment time. Quite strong from Sebastian. So that's the A's. Now on to the B's, and we have B1, the Ed Wannabes. They had a good race. The first split saw Jill, John and Phil in the front group of 25 riders, all 3 scoring points in the intermediate. Tim and Jason were in the groups behind, while Keith suffered a mechanical at the start. In the following laps, it was clear the steamroller was a required power-up, and with a bit of luck, Jason was able to move up from 50th to 32nd place. Jill missing out on the steamrollers, but was able to stay in the front group after some massive effort, scoring intermediate points each lap. He finished 5th, while John won the sprint for 19th place in his group with Phil, who finished 22nd. Tim finished 51st after a long chase, and Keith overtook 2 guys in his solo trip along the Beach Island Loop, finishing 71st. All of them coming within the top 80 to score valuable points. So, the Ed Wannabes finished 4th on the stage thanks to intermediate points, and after last week's 8th place, that brings him to 5th place in the overall standings. Now, the Ice Spiced Buns, B2, continued where they left off last week with a strong team performance that gained them 4th place on the night and moved them up to 4th in the league after 2 races. Each rider had their own personal battle to fight, but that didn't stop them encouraging each other throughout and discussing after the event where they could improve in the next race. The team spirit is strong and this will serve them well. And I have to give this to all the teams, all of the riders who are competing in this series. There's a lot of chit-chat going on Discord, and it's hard not to read it and get involved in it. And to be honest, as things go, like I miss that in a team environment where everyone's talking about the race and trying to improve. I really do miss that. Awesome job from the Bees again. And finally, the one and only C team, the Little Commas. They had a plan. Chris hitting the sprints and the rest trying to keep with the break on the first climb and then hold on. Marco had a 5-minute PB, Dougie with unstoppable raw power. Jeff, who had a PB for 5 and 20 minutes, made it, and through good communication and use of the steamroller, they powered to 5th, 6th and 15th overall. An amazing effort, although Alexa did make a brief and surprising DS appearance on Discord when Dougie tried to turn his fan off. It's my first time reading that. Tim and Dan got dropped on the first climb, but Tim managed in 52nd, although got an FTP increase. Awesome job, Tim. And working together with Dan, who came very respectable 54th and took a PB on the course and up the climb. Chris got 3rd, 4th and 6th best times in the sprints. Good to see Paul Borum DSing after his injury last week. The team came 3rd overall with 18 points. And in the series, Backpedal C are in 2nd position in the leaderboard with 34 points and only 1 point behind the leaders, Zwift Scotland, who actually came 6th on this race. So all to play for next week on the New York KOM, where I think there could be a real shake-up. So here's the team standings for the races and our in-house standings as well, because we have an in-house competition. Apparently there's going to be some sort of prize for the winners, but I really don't know what that's going to be yet. Ben did say that the prize could be a chance to ride 50 miles with Phil in central London, 10 miles around a roundabout with Scott in Minehead, and an Everest with me. So the first bunch race is always a tricky one. It's a baptism of fire, isn't it? And even for the season riders, because the level is just so high. This is the racing series at the end of the day. It's not just, pick and choose a random race on any day of the week on Zwift. Next week, though, we look forward to some climbs. New York City is very, very rolling. I don't think it's just a case of that last climb is really important. I think the whole race and route is very important. I know there's a test race tomorrow evening, so that's Saturday evening. There's also one Sunday morning, I think. I read that somewhere. So there's 2 opportunities, maybe more, to get some practice in before Tuesday if you want to have a go at the course for Tuesday. And we finish on top of the New York City skyline. So the big question is, can the Little Commas nab the top spot and take the lead in the leaderboard, being that they're so close? We shall see. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.